Oscar Munoz informative speech. So, fun fact, 100% of people who do drugs die. Think about it, it's true, just like saying 100% of people who drink water die. So why does it matter if you do drugs? I mean, if you want to destroy your body and live a miserable life, go ahead, but I really recommend not doing it. DrugAbuse.gov describes drug abuse as a chronic, often relapsing brain disease that causes compulsive drug seeking and use despite harmful consequences to the addicted individual and to those around him or her. Although the initial decision to take drugs is voluntary for most people, the brain changes that occur over time challenge the addicted person's self-control and hamper his or her ability to resist intense impulses to take drugs. As someone who has had a family member addicted to drugs, I wanted to look more into the topic. Learning about drug abuse will help us better understand the psychological effects drugs have on the human brain and the struggle to stop using drugs. First, I will talk about statistics and information of drug addiction, how I relate, then I'll talk about how I relate, and then I will talk about ways to recover. So, how many people are using drugs? The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's National Survey on Drug Use and Health showed that 23.5 million people years 12 or older had or needed treatment for illicit drug or alcohol abuse problem in 2009. In fact, alcohol abuse is one of the most common problems in the United States. In the United States, over 53% of people said that they had a close relative that had a drinking problem. The effects of alcoholism are really dire. It gives you brain damage, high blood pressure, kidney failure, or kidney disease. Even alcoholism even affects mental health. The Mental Health Foundation found that 65% of suicides are linked to excessive drinking. Not only does alcohol affect your body, but it also affects the lives of people around you. Alcoholics are more likely to get divorced, have problems with domestic violence, struggle with unemployment, and live in poverty. It is common for adults who have alcoholic parents to suffer from depression, anxiety, and impulsive behavior. Another popular drug is tobacco, which is the largest preventable cause of death in the U.S. Cigarette smoking kills over 4,800,000 Americans over a year, with more than 41,000 of them these deaths from exposure to secondhand smoking. In 2012, an estimated 18.1, which is 42.1 million U.S. adults were cigarette smokers, and of these, 78.44%, which is 33 million, smoked every day. Tobacco, much like alcohol, affects nearly every organ in the body. Smoking can increase the risk of stroke by 2 to 4 times, the chance of men developing lung cancer by 25 times, and women 25.7 times. Smoking can also cause cancer on nearly every organ in the body, such as blood, cervix, esophagus, pancreas, and stomach. It can also damage your teeth, giving it that nasty yellow color. Now that we have discussed some substance addictions and how it affects people, I will talk about how it has affected me. I have an uncle who I used to love, but I stopped kind of loving him after he hit rock bottom. When I was 5, I used to look forward to playing with him after school every single day because he had like these remote controlled cars that we would race around in the backyard. He was like always the nicest person to me. He never treated me wrong. But as I grew older and I heard stories of his shenanigans, I kind of like lost respect for him. He used to steal from my dad. He used to steal money so he could get money for weed and cocaine. My dad never really liked him, but he had to put up with him because he was my mother's brother. Eventually, my uncle's drug problems led him to attempting murder, which got him sent to prison for a year and then deported back to Mexico. In Mexico, he lived a carefree life, even though he had a son. He had a job selling coconuts from my family's land, but he would use his income money to buy more drugs. His son was always hungry, and he would have to depend on the money that my family sent from the States for food. His son would always go to my aunt's shop to eat candy for meals. In 2012, I visited Mexico and I saw my uncle for the first time in many years, and he looked like a typical drug addict. He was really scrawny and he looked 10 years older than he should. He asked for my shoes because he didn't have any, all he had were sandals. And at that moment, I lost all respect for him. After describing the effects of drug abuse and how I related, I will talk about ways to recover. Patients who go through medically assisted withdrawal but do not receive any further treatment show drug abuse patterns similar to those who were never treated. So the first step is you need to decide to make a change. This can be difficult for many drug addicts because they have to change the way they deal with stress and what they do with their free time. The next step is to explore treatment options. There are many rehab centers for people trying to become clean. According to research that tracks individuals in treatment over extended periods, most people who get into and remain in treatment stop using drugs, decrease their criminal activity, and improve their occupational, social, and psychological functioning. The next step is to reach out for support. Having people to lean on is a huge asset on recovering, since they will motivate you to become clean. My uncle is now clean from cocaine, and he uses his money to support his family. With the support from his family in Mexico and in the United States, he now isn't a total loser and takes care of his family. Now that we have discussed the effects of drugs and how it affects people and families, how to recover, let's wrap things up. It is important to discuss the negative effects of drugs and to avoid them. So next time you see someone smoking and they ask you to take a hit, please consider this and before you make a decision.